Hello, friends and beautiful people. It is Kathryn Massell, 5D Visionary, Elevated Consciousness Coach, and looks like I am live in the group, hopefully. It says I'm live. Let's see. And I know there's some people who wanted me to tag them, so I'm going to try to do that. Let's see. Okay. Looks like the Facebook feed is a little behind. I want to make sure I tag everybody. Hello, and let me know you're here. Let's see. And that way I don't have to double tag people. I know Gabriella Ann wanted to be in here. Let's see. Suska, Laura. Hi, everybody who's here. Say hello. Don't be shy. Hi, Elaine. And I want to say happy Mother's Day to all those moms out there. Let's see, who else? I can't see all the comments. There we go. Lori Ann. Hi. Hi, Lenore. Let's see. Is it Lenore or Leonore? I always butcher people's names, and I'm sorry about that. It's not intentional. It's a complete mistake. I'm losing. Let's see. Tiffany, Lorianne, Charlotte. If I can spell, that'd be really great. I'm going to wait until a couple more people jump on. And then I'll get started talking about all kinds of good stuff that's going on, what's next, where we're going, where we can be going. Say hello, let me know where you are in the world. That would be wonderful. Annie and Cornette. And if I don't get you here, I will definitely get you in the replay. So, Mandy and Yira. The lovely Yira. I hope she can join us. Mandy. I think. Mandy Klein. Yes. Okay. And I think that's everybody. I'm not sure, but let's hope so. And then more people will be tuning in. So I want to get started talking about, well, first of all, happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there. It's your special day. I know it's a weird special day because wherever you are in the world, you are quarantined. But, we are at a really interesting pivot point in our awakening. And as things are going to start moving again, in society, as we are going to start seeing a lot of states here in the US start to ease some of the restrictions and start to open up again. Some countries are opening up again and easing restrictions and starting to make it okay for people to come together in small groups again, with some separations and safeguards and protocols involved, sure. But as people are coming out of quarantine, as it happens sometimes, we can be immunosuppressed by coming out of a period of quarantine and then moving back into, sort of full speed back in society again. It can bring a new wave or a new, let's just say, flashpoint of this virus coming around again. There are all kinds of stories out there about the virus mutating, and it's not as safe as it should be for safeguards to be lifted, etc., etc., etc. Please embrace the fact that everything that you're seeing, no matter if it's on the conspiracy side of things or it's on the side of of information coming out that is ideally for the highest and best benefit for all humanity. And on any side that's, polarizing one way or the other, everything that's coming at you is a version of the truth, and it's not the whole truth. We are going through a massive portal of lots of different levels of disclosure at once. Yes, this has to do with ascension and certain, let's just say, energy codes, creator codes, frequency codes, light codes of information hitting the planet and awakening our conscious to our next station of awareness. But it is also a lot of disclosure about things that are happening in our 3D time-space matrix, this particular collective timeline that we find ourselves in currently, that is defining our current reality, sometimes confining our current reality. There is so much more disclosure yet to play out. So please, I invite you to think that think with and use critical thought with a level of discernment that is beyond your ego filters. Keep focusing, rerouting your attention, your focus, and your awareness to your higher self. And you can do this very simply. You can just call in higher self, higher self, higher self. Show me the highest level of discernment about blank. It's a very simple process. Take a breath, allow yourself to move out of the exhaustion and depletion and confusion of whatever moment that you're in, and understand that it feels that way because you are operating from a negative ego attachment and an ego filter that is coloring your perception at the moment. And know that there is always a different level of perception that you can be opting into. So when things get very, very convoluted, very confusing, and it is very difficult for you to navigate through some level of discernment about what truth is, that is your cue to go into your higher self perspective. Does that make sense? Go into your higher self perspective and ask for that level of discernment. This is always and ever about your choice of changing the color of your perception by who you're allowing to get your information from. You can be allowing yourself to get your information from the negative ego, which is always going to be very polarizing and feel very heavy and dense in the body. Or you can choose to opt into the information filter of your higher self and simply ask for your highest and best level of discernment about whatever, blank, okay? So I want to talk a bit about, pursuing truth through our filter of ego attachment. There are many, many things in play right now that are being devised, let's just say, being incorporated, being deliberately navigated to manipulate our sense of critical thought, to manipulate our sense of being able to discern information through the filter of the higher self, and instead filter information through ego perceptive levels. This is something that is always going to be geared towards having humanity err towards levels of filtering information through negative ego perception, survival mode consciousness, okay? When we are in that level of discernment, and there has been many, many things in place, many structures, paradigms, a lot of information being thrown at us that is, yes, by design, meant to throw us into that survival mode consciousness. Why? Because when we are in survival mode consciousness, number one, we're not able to discern, as I mentioned from the outset of this call, we're not able to discern the highest and best level of information that is coming through the filter of our higher self. And therefore, we tend to make not the greatest choices when we are in that negative ego filter attachment, when we are in survival mode consciousness and that level of awareness. We are easily manipulated, dominated, and controlled in terms of, certain things that can, let's just say, fashion reality schemas or fashion kind of a continuum of events that seems to set up protocols for a timeline that stretches well beyond where we are now and into the future. When there's a constant barrage of information that is meant to keep putting you in survival mode consciousness, you tend to cast your energy out into the future and have gloom and doom scenarios that extend well past the current moment. None of that is real. Any kind of a future projection that either a government is trying to make, a body of information coming at you that's supposed to be meant to keep you safe, to keep you informed. If it smacks of a fear agenda and keeping you in survival mode, and it keeps re-signaling to you over and over on a conscious or unconscious level to think of the person next to you, your neighbor, as other, this is a deliberate design to keep us in divide and conquer timelines, which is part of the false machinery of the false ascension matrix. It's not our true organic ascension matrix that is aligned with our divine human blueprint of elevating through stations of awareness that take us naturally through the process of ascension. There are things at play right now that are working very well. They're very systematic, that keep us in this kind of holographic overlay, this blended earth reality, I call it, where you have glimpses of, let's just say the better parts of humanity, or where we could be going forward, what we can become going forward, where we feel like optimistic, we feel kindness towards each other, we feel understanding, compassion, tenderness towards each other. And then you vacillate back to those moments of feeling like, oh my God, how am I going to pay rent? Oh my God, my kids are going to get sick and there's nothing I can do about it. Oh my God, my retirement savings is just plummeting. This is systematic, please understand. And it's machinery that has been around on this planet for thousands and thousands of years. Why? Because it works very well to dominate, manipulate, and control the human collective and all of us on an individual level as well. It is not real, because any kind of projection that takes you out in the future past this now moment, these are only potentials, these are only possibilities. And there are those who would hold us back from our ascension process, that would like us to believe that the potentials and possibilities of where we're going forward are doomsday scenarios. This has been part of an Armageddon timeline that has been playing out on this planet for thousands of years. But what we are choosing in each now moment is the only thing that is real. It is the only thing that is tangible. It is the only thing that allows us to create from the speed of thought and put things into matter, or things that we would say are real, or things that get inserted into the fabric of our true matrix of ascension. You have power in that every single moment based on what you are choosing. And if you are pursuing truth, let's just say a lot of us are pursuing truth. A lot of us are looking at what's in the news. Is that true? Whether it's, the next big, outbreak, or the next big rise of this crisis of either the financial gloom and doomsday scenarios or the coronavirus scenarios. We're constantly being, kind of lulled into submission with this doomsday scenario. It's not real. And these projections are just based on a bigger scheme of manipulation that is meant to keep humanity feeling like they don't have control over their sovereignty. They don't have control over their ability to create at the speed of thought. This is one of the things that is entering into the new paradigm as we bridge this next station of awareness in our ascension pathway. We are creating at the speed of thought. That is pure power in your hands. What are you thinking about? What are you feeling? In each moment, if you are not a good custodian, if you are not a good steward of that, you are creating a vibrational resonance that is similar to the frequency you held the minute before, and the minute before that, and the minute before that, and the month before that, and the year before that, and the decade before that. What you are choosing now, and there is only and ever the now moment that is creating our future template of being. No matter what anybody says, no matter what doomsday scenarios you hear out there, you have so much power in what you are doing, thinking, and feeling in this now moment. It is creating the fabric of reality for yourself, and you are contributing to the collective fabric of reality for everyone else in each given moment. No matter what anybody says about doomsday scenarios, financial crisis, health crisis, it is not real, because it is not imprinted in the fabric of reality yet. yet. So we're pursuing truth. Everyone is pursuing truth. What is truth? What is true? It's very subjective, actually. So these people who are propagating these myths and doomsday scenarios about humanity's, increased loss of life, increased loss of vitality, what's happening to the planet, what's happening to humankind, what's happening to, the financial world, to the medical world, all of this stuff is only existing in essence based on some person's or a collective of persons' spin on the truth. It is not real. Do you understand what I'm saying? The power is all in your hands to start creating from this pivot point, and we are in a massive pivot point here. The power is completely in your hands to create the fabric of reality going forward. What do you want that to look like? Better yet, what do you want it to feel like? Start feeling it now. Because the more you are feeling into the echoes of fear and doomsday, the more you are creating that fabric of reality going forward. This timeline, this Armageddon timeline that has existed for a long time, and those who would hold us back from our ascension want it to keep existing. The only way that keeps existing as a timeline, it will exist to the degree that there is human participation in that timeline. That's why timelines exist. Timelines, all they are is a way to connect events, to connect the space or separate out events. That's all timelines are. They are an active timeline or a linear continuum, or at least the way we experience a linear continuum here on 3D planet Earth, is if it keeps occupying the same vibrational frequency. So that literally marches that timeline forward on a continuum. If we have, in our collective human history, been proceeding as if we don't have any power, that those who would hold us back, that small group of people who are creating the paradigms, the schemes of power, domination, manipulation, and control here on the planet, if we feel like there's them and there's us, and they hold all the power, they are the puppeteers and we're the puppets, if you keep feeling into that, you keep helping them create and recreate and perpetuate that Armageddon timeline going forward. But guess what? That Armageddon timeline cannot exist without your participation in it. Without human participation in timelines, literally, humans being able to observe timelines and participate in them, without that, timelines dissolve, timelines collapse. Through our intentional drive, we can actually collapse timelines. That's what I teach, because that's what I do. I teach about all things time, nature of time, and timelines. We can deliberately collapse them. But they will collapse by default if humans are no longer observing certain timelines or participating in them. And when timelines are ready to collapse, this is a very interesting thing, and I would like you to listen very closely to this. Before major timelines collapse, okay, we are in this coronavirus timeline. This is creating a ripple in the fabric of reality that the human collective is all participating in to some degree, okay? This is part of artificial machinery. This is part of the false ascension matrix. It is not going to continue if we keep participating in all of the fear and the false agendas in play that keep us feeling like we don't have access to sovereign thought. We don't have access to our own feelings. They're constantly being manipulated by the media, correct? So you feel like you've lost access to your own feelings of feeling empowered, of feeling light, of feeling hopeful, of feeling happy, of feeling connected to other people. Maybe many of you feel like, I don't even feel connected to that person right now. I haven't for weeks, maybe even months. This is deliberate design. This is very deliberate design to make you not feel that, because when humans don't feel that, they don't make conscious choices that serve the highest and best for them and the highest and best for all humanity. There's a lot of hope that we won't make the best and highest choices for ourselves and all of humanity. Why? Because that keeps the Armageddon timelines alive. It keeps the false machinery in place. It keeps us siphoning off our energy to some potential timeline in the future that doesn't even exist and is not real. We are constantly being deliberately manipulated to siphon off our energy to things that are not real, that are simply simulations and illusions of reality. What is real? Each now moment that you're in, and how you feel in that moment, and what you're thinking in that moment, and what you are doing in that moment. Now. Now is all that matters. Now is all that is the infinite moment of creation where anything and everything is possible and has a potential for being. That is all that's real, nothing more. No future spin on what's going to happen, that is not real. Even our past, to some degree, isn't necessarily real. Pursuing our truth. It can be done. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're funding, whatever you are investing your energy in terms of what you feel is truth. Nature is real. I've been picking flowers for the past hour. But even that, in our experience with nature, is a resonant vibration of what we're feeling in the moment. If we are pursuing truth, whatever it is, through the filter of kindness, this is the core, heart, and essence of 5D. There are a lot of people feeling like they are butting heads against each other. This is my version of the truth. This one is right. No, this is my version of the truth. This one is right. Battling this out, having this battle royale, this tete-a-tete, where I'm right, you're wrong, it's all through the filter of negative ego attachment. I don't care what your agenda is. I don't care what your version of the truth is. If you feel the need to battle and fight without a filter of kindness at the core and the essence of that, you are not going 5D. And you are feeding the false ascension matrix. You are feeding an agenda of the Armageddon timeline and all of the domination, manipulation, and control machinery that keeps that alive. Whatever version of the truth is that you are holding, it is not the whole truth. Because we are having this onion being peeled away in so many layers now. So much disclosure is happening on all different levels, spiritually, physically, emotionally, and mentally, okay? Cosmically. That whatever you're sitting in as your truth right now, it is not finite. It is only one layer of this onion that is being peeled away in layers over and over and over again. And we're getting to the heart of who we are as humans, the heart of our true, accurate historical timeline, the true heart of what essence we are holding and how we have the ability to expand that out to become who we're meant to be, to come here and become who we were meant to be, which is divine humans. So whatever version of truth you're holding, it is not the whole truth. Whatever side that's on, okay? We are in this period of, let's just say, an agreed upon history. We have an agreed upon current timeline, which is the coronavirus, the COVID-19 timeline, where all of the world is going through, as my friend Romina likes to say, this soft reset, okay? We are all going through that. This is such a unique and pivotal and important timeline that I invite you to look at, why would this be affecting all of humanity in such a profound way, where we are questioning reality, we are questioning our version of who we are, or who we thought we are on an individual level and on a collective level, where we are looking at all of the systems in place, the things that, let's just say, we allowed to filter our energy through media systems, news, bodies of news, and what's coming from those and what the agendas might be that are on a deeper level. We're questioning all of this right now, and that is good. Again, no matter what side you're on, the sides really don't matter. In terms of 5D, picking a side doesn't really matter. And I know that's going to ruffle some feathers. I don't care. I'm not here to placate or pacify humanity. I'm here to wake humanity up. I'm an elevated consciousness coach. Okay? I'm here to institute your next station of awareness and to help you bridge that gap from where you are to where we're going. We have an agreed upon current history timeline, And we have an agreed upon collective history timeline. Okay? And I'm going to say this just to simplify this for you, but in a way so you can understand it. Because we have a current timeline that's shared by the collective, this COVID-19 coronavirus timeline, where many things are shifting, not just with, people getting sick and people dying, but all the ways that it's trickling into all parts of society, all parts of our lives, as kind of the fallout or the collateral damage of that. Okay? You can have 5 people witnessing things that are happening with this collective timeline that we're in, and 5 different versions of reality. 5 completely different versions of reality. Why? Because we have 5 variations of truth, and the truth is always filtered through the different individual timelines that we are all participating in. Diane has her own personal timeline. Lynette has her own personal timeline. I have my own personal timeline. Yes, we are sharing a collective timeline right now, but based on my particular timeline, my different ego perception or ego programming that is in alignment with my vibration, I am creating my own timeline. So even though I'm this one part of this much bigger timeline, there's me within it with my ego programming, my ego attachment, my ego perception, colored through the filter of my truth based on the vibration I am holding. I'm going to have a version of this collective timeline that is my own. And so does everybody else. Does that make them wrong when you look at it that way? Is that person wrong? Because their version of the truth completely varies and differs from yours? They're on a different timeline. They're on a different trajectory. They're holding a different vibration. Therefore, their ego perceptions, their programming, their version of the truth based on the frequency that they're holding is going to be radically, sometimes, different from yours. And I know that this can ruffle feathers when people talk about, well, that's bad for humanity, or that's good for humanity. And again, you're talking about a version of the truth where you haven't seen the whole story played out yet. Neither have I. So how can we say definitively, well, that's truth? Truth is malleable. Truth changes. Truth mutates. Truth changes form. And it's all subjective at the end of the day, based on who you are and based on who I am. Can we hold space and kindness for other people's versions of the truth? If you're talking about 5D, then you had better, because that is the essence of 5D. Everything gets filtered through kindness. Everything. Kindness, understanding, temperance, tenderness, compassion, forgiveness, mercy, empathy. Hold whatever version of the truth that you want and resonates with you and the vibration of who you are. But if you want to go 5D, it's all about holding space for your neighbor, your friend, who, the greater scheme of those who would hold us back from ascension would like you to believe as other. If you can't hold compassion and love and kindness for that person, no matter what they believe, good luck going 5D. And I'm sorry, I know this sounds harsh, but it's absolutely true. Kindness has to be at the core and filter of everything. This was a conversation I was having the other day with someone that, if you're not doing something polarizing, are you really helping the ascension process? Are you really leading? Okay, well, let's unpack that a little bit. We want to wake people up, so we think that we have to smash people over the head with truth, right? And that if it's not polarizing, you're not really going to wake people up. I completely disagree. You have someone on this planet not very long ago in a collective history timeline that we share, and his name was Martin Luther King. He led with love. Yes, he was a divine warrior of truth and light, and a truth that resonated with most people on the planet. Why? Because he did everything that he did through a filter of kindness and compassion and understanding. Now, it may seem, yes, that he was creating a polarizing movement because there were some people on the side of the civil rights movement that wasn't really for the highest and best good of humanity. And then there was the movement that MLK was leading, which was creating a pivot point and elevating a station of awareness in the entire human collective that was benefiting the most of humanity. Did he do that by beating people over the head? No. It can be done. You can lead a new wave of change and hope to lead people into an elevated station of awareness that takes us on that next stopover in our trajectory of ascension. You can do it in a way where there is kindness and mercy, compassion and understanding and tolerance at the heart of it. And if you're not doing that, I would argue for you being really good at doing PR for the false ascension matrix otherwise. So there's that. Your vibration right now, I'm talking about now because that's all there is. When you take my Timelines class, everything that I talk about and everything that I share, that everything that you can change about your past, because in your now, you can change your perception of your past. That will change your memory of it. That will change the vibration that you hold right now. And the vibration that you hold right now, if you're choosing to change it, will change your filter of how you think about your past. Therefore, in my mind, you've changed your past. You can change your ancestral legacy, meaning your genealogy that you hold as codes in your DNA, simply by what you are doing now to take yourself and all of humanity forward and ride out, let's just say, a legacy of your family, your genealogy, your ancestry forward by giving blessings and forgiveness and love to everyone that came before you that shares your DNA. This doesn't have to be just your ancestry, like through your matrilineal and patrilineal line. It can be through your entire human history line. If you hold compassion, love, tenderness, and understanding from everyone or for everyone that came before you, whether they're, blood relatives or not, you change the collective of history, and you can actually take that part of your cellular memory that has been wiped, where you have access to your true accurate historical timeline, and bring that information up for review. Simply by the vibration and the resonance that you hold right now, that you are choosing to inhabit right now. Everything and anything has only ever been about now. Please don't think for one moment that it's not deliberate, that society as we've known it is all about making you nostalgic about your past, siphoning off your energy, your valuable, potent, powerful energy of the now, siphoning that off to the past, or daydreaming about a better future, which is a fucking lie because it doesn't exist. And everything about what you watch in the news, everything in social media, everything about mass media and marketing and advertising is about siphoning your energy off to one place or another, but it is not the now. I challenge you to show me any piece of advertising or media marketing that invites you to take a bigger look at your connection with the now. That's where all your power is. That's only and ever where your power is. I invite you to look at this as your point of departure, let's just say, into your next elevated station of awareness. If you expand everything into the infinite nature of your now moment, anything and everything is possible for you. Coupled with the fact that because of this ascension timeline we are on, we are now moving into a divine human template where we are creating at the speed of thought. Couple it with that powerful revelation that there only and ever is the now moment. You have complete and total control over what you are creating, who you are creating, what you're going to be, what you're going to do, what you're going to have, and you're creating at the speed of thought. Anything that you want is at your fingertips. It may not seem that way right now, but why doesn't it seem that way? Because you're siphoning your energy off to something you read yesterday, and that's still ruminating and rolling around in your mind. Or you're siphoning your energy off to this future scenario, this timeline you've imagined where we're all poor, we're all, disembodied from our consciousness, and we don't feel sovereign in our power. Is that an instrument of your design that you've opted in for? Or did someone else create that schema or scenario for you and you bought into it? Your vibration right now is resonating with the set of circumstances of what you call your past, and it is coloring your current version of reality. This is happening in a series of cyclical moments that are now moments that are happening in succession, and we would call it a linear continuum, a linear timeline. Your vibration right now, I'm going to say this again, your vibration right now is resonating with the set of circumstances of what you call your past, meaning you think of who you are right now as the sum total of who you've been. That's not the entire truth either. It's a version of reality that between you and you on an interpersonal level have agreed upon. Your vibration right now is resonating with the set of circumstances of what you call your past, and it is coloring your current version of reality, i.e., the current version of who you think of as you. You moving through space and time, you moving through the set of experiences and circumstances that define your day, you interacting with other people. And what makes up your current timeline is you sifting through, second by second, a series of now moments that assume the same vibration that is similar to the frequency of the last moment. This is what has been defining our reality, of what we think of as our definition of self, our identity of who we are, is based on this pretty simple outlay, this pretty simple template. What makes up your current timeline, mean your current version of you right now, where you are right now, because there is only an ever now. I hope you get this. Nothing else exists, only now. And now is infinite. It's an infinite power source of energy that is unending. So you can pull any possibility, potential, whatever from that now moment based on the vibration that you are holding, what you are choosing. Your reality has nothing to do with what anyone else is choosing. Please hear me. Because this is the pivot point that we're at, is waking up to this. What makes up your current timeline is you sifting through, second by second, now moment by now moment. Your version of reality is just a series of now moments strung together to create a bigger fabric of, let's just say, definition, where you can then say, that's me. That's who I identify as. That's how I define myself. But that is a decision and a choice based on your particular color of your perception. Not anyone else, not anything else. You are choosing who you are, moment to moment. And you're stringing this together to form a narrative, a story, a timeline, where those versions of you and how you think about those events that made up you, how you're coloring your perception about that reality when it happened. You are basing your moment, your current definition of reality, your current definition of you, of who you have been. Who do you think you have been? And the way to better ask that is, how do you feel about who you have been? Is this a feeling you want to continue or not? It's entirely up to you. And you'll say, but Kathryn, there's this. No, there's nothing. There is only you in this moment and your perception of who you are in this moment and what you are choosing. Are you choosing the highest and best good for you? For how you want to feel and how you want to keep feeling, and how you want to keep stringing those now moments together to form a bigger narrative, a bigger picture, a bigger timeline of who you are, where you can say, this is my container of energy that I hold, and everything in it is good. And you are in that level of power. Guess what kind of decisions you're making? Those decisions that are aligned with the God choice, which is everything about the essence of 5D going forward. You are able to, when you're in this place where you enjoy and you are deriving real pleasure and satisfaction and fulfillment from what you are feeling in each now moment, you are aligned with the essence of pure source. And everything that vibrates at that level is part of your container of energy, part of your timeline, part of your identity, part of your definition of reality. And so what vibrates and jibes with that resonance is the God choice. Because then you make choices from discernment that are the highest and best good for you, the highest and best good for all of humanity, because those things are not mutually exclusive as we go 5D. They are the same. And with the least amount of resistance for all involved. How does that feel? Are you getting those Buddha bumps? Are you getting those goosebumps on your body? I hope you are, because that means you're really listening to what I'm saying from here and not here. That you're listening through the filter of your higher self and not your negative ego attachment. If you are listening from the place of your negative ego attachment, you are probably rejecting what I'm saying and coming up with a million different reasons, excuses for why this can't be so. For why all these other things out there outside of you are keeping you from this level of sovereignty, this level of awareness. Nothing is keeping you from that except you. Because of what you are choosing to feel, what you are choosing to think, what you are choosing to believe as truth. How finite and rigid are you in all of that? How willing are you to let yourself to be malleable and fluid through all of this right now? This is the pivot point of all of humanity going forward, is us waking up on an individual level to what is possible for us. But it only and ever comes down to one thing. Your vibration, your resonance, your frequency, and your conscious awareness of it, moment to moment, in the now, second by second. You can change it at any time you want. If you are conscious and aware of what you are choosing, i.e., what you are thinking and feeling in each now moment. So, two big takeaways here. Who you've been, who you're becoming, what you remember, what you recall, what you don't. Are you elevating past who you've been? When things start moving again in society, wherever you are in the world, and maybe that has already started to happen, are you going to operate with the same sense of identity of who you are, the same way of defining yourself in your reality that you have, and just assume things business as usual? Operating from this idea that things are going back to normal? Because that is the ultimate illusion that you will set up for yourself. Because we are recreating a new normal. And to whatever degree that new normal exists, has everything to do with your participation in that. So if you want to go back to business as usual, things that were normal, let me ask you, are you participating in the false ascension matrix by doing nothing other than thinking, I just can't wait until things go back to normal again? Or are you establishing an entirely new normal for yourself based on the vibration you're choosing in each now moment, in each infinite stretch of the now? Are you choosing thoughts and feelings that serve your highest and best good and also serve the highest and best good of all humanity and with the least amount of resistance for all involved? And actively participating and creating in each string of now moments a narrative that assumes the higher ascension timeline for all humanity. It's simple, but it's not easy. I get that. But this is what we're being invited to look at. This is not meant to scare anybody, but this has a lot to do with the work that I do, with the galactic team that I work with the information I see when I remote view potential timelines. I do this. This is how I glean information. This is how I suss out different levels of information. I remote view timelines. So it is an out-of-body experience where you could say I astral project to view different timelines. I can view different timelines in the past. I can review timelines in the future, because guess what? All of it is now. All of it is variations and perceptions of the now. So everything exists simultaneously. And when you remote view, you access that level of your subconscious that has all of this encoded into it, okay? Some would say, like, this is the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records is just a fragment of consciousness. But if you're going even higher up than that and viewing from, remote viewing any and all potentials from pure source consciousness, you're looking at everything that's part of the fabric or the thread or the fragment of consciousness. Everything is a fragment of consciousness. If you are going up without filters to the purest level of consciousness, you can remote view, astral project into anything. Okay? So when I do that, when I go into that space and I'm sifting through, let's just say, all of the different remote potentials, meaning remote potentials, things that haven't happened yet but could be, things that, because of a collective energy of investing or funding in a certain reality, has a higher potential of being, because that's where more of the investment or funding of energy is. That's what creates collective timelines. When I'm looking at that, what I'm seeing is a lot of remote monitoring of what's happening down here on planet Earth right now. From other celestial bodies, star beings, some who are on the benevolent side of things, who are part of the builder and founder races, and some who are on the malevolent side of things, who would like to keep planet Earth as a prison planet and keep operating in an Armageddon timeline, because that allows those malevolent entities to keep siphoning off energy towards their end and towards a funding of their creativity that they don't have access to on their own. That's why Earth is so tasty. That's why our DNA is so tasty to them. That's why we have so many seals, implants, tags, holographic inserts in this reality on the grid lines of the Earth and on the DNA, because it's a way to siphon off energy towards, yes, entities that have higher technology to do these things and have the machinery to operate these conduits, but are not operating in a level of creativity that we are. That's why our energy is so tasty. So there's a lot of monitoring of what's happening on planet Earth, because so much of the awakening process is happening at a very accelerated rate. Those particular malevolent entities are worried about their bottom line. Where is our power source going to come from if humanity wakes up? And then we have those that are monitoring this planet and looking at the ways we are waking up and becoming more engaged with each other. We are understanding that every single one of us on this planet is empathic and tuned into each other and signaling to each other through the DNA. What are we signaling to each other? Are we signaling to each other fear, chaos, confusion, lack of sovereignty, lack of empowerment, disembodiment, fragmented consciousness, anger, betrayal, resentment, blame, guilt, shame? Or are we signaling to each other down here, hey, there's a better way? And maybe I don't know it yet, but I have a lot of hope. I don't know where it's coming from, but I feel this welling up in my energy of something better, a greater wave of change taking hold. I'm almost excited to see what happens next, to see where we can go. And so when I engage with other people, I want to smile more. I want to engage more. I want to talk more. I feel like this thing of wearing masks is yet another thing that keeps me feeling my human brother and sister is other rather than my neighbor. I don't like that. And yes, many of us are, whether you wear the masks or you don't wear the masks, again, your version of the truth is, I don't care. I don't care. I'm sorry, but I don't care. If I decide not to wear a mask, I will wear it sometimes because I'll walk into a place that, hey, we want to keep our employees safe. Will you wear a mask? Yes, of course. Because I want the highest and best good of all with the least amount of resistance for all involved. I don't need to say, no, I'm not going to wear a mask for the sake of being contrarian and being a hard ass. I want people to feel like they're safe and secure and loved. But at the same time, I don't wear a mask around every day in my everyday life because I feel it just ignites that feeling of separation anxiety over and over again when you see someone wearing a mask. And I don't want to contribute to that. That's just me. Is that my truth? Yes. Is that the whole truth? No. Nothing is the whole truth right now. I don't care how much you are safeguarding and you are rigid and inflexible in what you're believing, it is not the whole truth. No matter what side or spectrum, end of the spectrum you're on with that. Nothing is the whole truth right now. We are rapidly sifting through many levels of disclosure, peeling away many layers of the onion. Nothing is the whole truth yet. It's going to be a while before all that's disclosed. And as we're waking up to this and we're seeing how sovereign we are and we're seeing how powerful it is to, speak our truth and feel like, okay, that felt really good to just say that out loud and have it to be received well by another person because we spoke it with some kindness and some tenderness and some temperance. And we didn't have to speak out in anger, but we could still speak our truth. Those things are not mutually exclusive, by the way. We have these benevolent beings that are part of the builder and the founder races looking at what's happening on planet Earth and seeing us become more sovereign through that filter of kindness, through that filter of compassion, through that filter of tenderness. And they're saying, oh, finally. They're waking up. And the more we ask for help in that way, we tune into our higher self and say, okay, what's this next level of discernment I'm being invited to take? What's this next level, this next station of awareness I'm being invited to take steps towards? I'll take the help I can get with that. Those benevolent beings that, yes, seeded us are listening. And they can only and ever help with our conscious act of free will to choose to ask for their help. Even with shifting into your awareness of your higher self, if you're not asking for that, don't assume your higher self is just going to take over. It's all about your free will choice. What are you choosing in each now moment? Are you choosing for the highest and best level of discernment for all, with the least amount of resistance for all involved, wanting the best for you and all of humanity and realizing there's no competition between those two? We've just been conditioned as being part of an Armageddon timeline and being on a prison planet to believe that those things are mutually exclusive. They are not. The highest and best good for you can be in align with, purely, in resonance with the highest and best good of all humanity. This is the essence and the core of 5D. How do we start walking that pathway now? How do we start bridging that gap now? We start listening more with compassion. Even if it doesn't jibe with your truth, even if it doesn't jibe with your resonance, can you hold a space for another human being where you disagree with them wholeheartedly, but you can love them at the same time? Can you do that? Because that is the essence and the core and the resonance of 5D. And we are being invited to walk that path forward. But it is your choice to keep funding a paradigm and an old timeline that has outworn its use and which feels so intensified right now. And why does it feel so intensified right now? Because when timelines are ready to collapse, it goes through a last gasp, a culmination energy. A culmination of that timeline where all of those timelines within that massive collective timeline are getting wrapped up. They are achieving their culmination throughout all of the 3D time-space history. This is powerful. It's like a Big Bang type feeling. So that's why it feels so colossally confusing here on the planet, why this energy feels so big, so inescapable, because when a major collective timeline is ready to collapse, it has to go through a last gasp, a culmination, where everything comes up in the highest contrast, the highest polarization, the highest duality, the highest relief, before it dissolves. And then when it comes up in that level, we feel like, well, I have to participate in it now because it's so big. You don't. But you are choosing in each now moment to either participate in that timeline that's going through its last gasp, that Armageddon timeline, where we are disembodied from our sovereignty, where we're not creating at the speed of thought the things that are highest and best for you and all of humanity, or you are opting in for, investing in, and funding in a timeline of the new earth, which involves all the principles of 5D: kindness, compassion, tolerance, understanding, mercy, forgiveness, empathy. It is your choice. What are you choosing now? Not what you're choosing next week. Next week is not, it's not even guaranteed. It doesn't exist. The future is completely unwritten. What vibrational resonance are you holding moment to moment that almost ensures a trajectory of a new timeline being forged as we still move through linear time space? Because as long as we're in a body, we are holding 3D time space. But we are multidimensional beings. We are vacillating between awareness of 3D, 4D, and 5D on the regular, on a daily basis now. Which timeline do you want to, and which dimensional reality do you want to anchor in the most? Okay, then, which one are you choosing? What feelings are you choosing? What moment-to-moment thoughts, feelings, actions are you choosing that anchors this timeline of your choosing forward? So I know this is powerful. Some of you may want to listen to this again. But understand that it may feel like, I'm going to close out by saying this, choosing 5D feels drastically different from where we are. Okay, then I say this to you. To jump to something drastically different is to pull yourself out of the illusion. Pull yourself out of the simulation. Pull yourself out of the matrix. What would be, if we want to play in the illusion, which is the sandbox of planet Earth, and it is a giant sandbox, what thing would you do right now to stop playing this game with yourself of the illusion of staying in your disembodied sovereignty, the illusion of staying in the feeling of I don't have a choice, the illusion of staying in this feeling that everything outside of me is creating my reality and I have no ability to discern what is highest and best for me? Are you willing to pull yourself out of that illusion? Because to make the drastically different jump in timelines going forward, this is what it takes. And it's based on the principles that I discussed here. It's simple, but it's not easy. And looking at who you've been, if you are, I'm going to close out actually by saying this, because I forgot to mention it before. Many of you have an awareness of past timelines where you resonate with, where you've been in timelines of being persecuted, violated, tortured, abused because of systems in place. Usually they were religious or political systems, sometimes a combination of both, because that does define a big part of our historical timeline where religious and political governmental institutions were really intertwined. Systems of power that have to do with cultural conditioning based on religious ideology, things like that. Many of us have memories of, timelines where we inhabited those experiences of being persecuted, violated, tortured in some way. And some of us wear it like a badge of honor. I did myself for a while, where I was like, I was a nun in this life, and I was, a priestess that was a whistleblower, in this cult, and so I'm a whistleblower. Well, if you recognize that as part of your past timeline, or legacy in your DNA of something that you held or your family held in a past timeline, in a current timeline even, I'm a whistleblower. Okay. I invite you to not think of that as, again, the end of that truth. That's not the whole truth. Because everything about moving this timeline of humanity forward on the ascension path is opting in for the next station of awareness. So if you identify with being, a whistleblower in a past lifetime, where you called bullshit on a certain paradigm of power abuse or whatever that was, what would be the next elevated station of that in this lifetime? Are you doing that? Or are you wearing that past lifetime where you're like, I remember I was a priestess who called shenanigans on the rest of my whatever cult or religious order or whatever. You don't just stay there. I mean, yes, it's wonderful to recognize and acknowledge that stuff. And that's one of the things that I help you do in DNA activation and restructuring, is that when I remote view those timelines in your DNA of what you held in either past or current lifetimes, I say, okay, great. Now you know this. What are you going to do with it? Because everything about where you are right now is moving into that next elevated station of awareness, taking that station of awareness that what was before and using that as a flashpoint of infinite wisdom, of wisdom accrued from that experience. How do you build on that? We're never meant to stagnate in any station of awareness. We are meant to evolve. And this is part of the pivot point of our humanity. So if you have that, idea of, or this belief that you're reconciling with who you were in the past, you don't just sit there with it. It's meant to be a place of information. You gather the information with that to build on your next level. Who is she or he going to be? How do you take what has been, reconcile and acknowledge that, and build it to create this pathway to your next station of awareness? So I'll leave you with that. That's what I do in DNA activation and restructuring. And if this is something that's resonating very strongly with you, you should look at the offer that I posted in here for DNA activation and restructuring, because it's about to get a complete and colossal upgrade to how I already offer this. And it's going through the end of June, and then my prices will be going out. But I really invite you to think about and maybe rewatch this video, because there's so much in here that maybe the first time you listen to it, it's not all sussing out for you or resonating for you. But maybe the second time you listen to this, it will make more sense. So thank you for being here with me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for having your heart open and being a light of empathy and compassion and kindness on the planet. Those of you who are doing that, because you are anchoring the 5D timeline. And I thank you and I appreciate you and I love you all. Love and peace.